Today, we're digging into something pretty provocative. It's a brand new diagnosis for the entire quantum industry, and it's called the Sisyphus error. Let's get right into it. Okay, so if you follow the world of quantum computing, you've probably felt this. I mean, for years, right? We've all heard this promise of a quantum revolution that's going to change, well, everything. But it always feels like it's perpetually on the horizon, doesn't it? Just a decade away. So, what's the deal? Well, for the last decade or so, the industry's answer, especially from the giants in the space, has been pretty straightforward: a brute force approach. The thinking is simple enough. More power, you need more physical qubits. So we've seen these chips just explode, going from dozens to hundreds, and the roadmaps are promising 1 million. But what if everyone is climbing the wrong mountain entirely? And that brings us to this new framework. It's called U-theory, and it makes a really startling claim. It says the problem isn't the physics. No, physics isn't the enemy here. The problem is the strategy. The argument is that the whole industry is caught in this self-defeating loop. They call it the Sisyphus error. And this right here, this is the core of it. You know the Greek myth of Sisyphus, right? The guy doomed to roll a giant boulder up a hill, only to have it roll right back down every single time. Well, the theory says just adding more qubits, more raw power, is like Sisyphus deciding to push an even bigger boulder. You're just trying to paper over these fundamental weaknesses in stability and connectivity. And the bigger you build, the faster it all comes crashing down. Okay, so to really understand why this is happening, the theory doesn't just point fingers. It actually offers a diagnostic tool. It suggests we need to perform what it calls a triadic autopsy to see what's really failing deep inside these machines. So instead of just looking at one single metric, like the qubit count, which is what everyone talks about, this autopsy checks 3 totally distinct but equally important vital signs. You know, think of it like a doctor checking your heart, your lungs, and your brain. If one of those fails, the whole system is in serious trouble, no matter how strong the other 2 are. And here they are, those 3 vital signs. First up, you've got form. This is all about stability, or what's called coherence. Basically, how long can a qubit actually hold on to its information without it just fizzling out? Second, there's position. This is about connectivity and entanglement. How well can all those qubits talk to each other? And third, we have action. This is the raw computing power we always hear about. How much work can the system actually get done? Now this chart just perfectly illustrates the Sisyphus error in action. You can see it right there. The industry has poured so much time, money, and energy into action, building bigger and bigger chips with more and more qubits. But according to this diagnosis, form and position, stability and connectivity, they've been critically, almost completely neglected. The whole system is just dangerously out of balance. So you might be asking, what's the big deal? What's the real consequence of this imbalance? Well, here it is. The theory argues it creates these huge dead zones all over the chip. These are areas where errors from that poor stability and weak connectivity just pile up so fast that up to 99% of the machine's computational potential is just gone, lost, before it can do anything useful. It's like trying to fill a bucket that's 99% holes. But hey, a diagnosis isn't much good if there's no cure, right? So let's look at the prescription. What's the proposed solution to get back on track? It's a path to restore that balance. And what's interesting is that the path forward here isn't about more brute force. It's actually a really elegant architectural solution. The goal is to treat each of those 3 vital signs. First, you reinforce form to make the quantum states way more stable. Then, you optimize position so communication becomes super efficient. And only then, once the foundation is solid, do you control action to actually perform useful work. And they even have specific tools for the job. To improve form, they suggest using techniques that basically act like noise-canceling headphones for your qubits, shielding them. For position, a smart compiler would act like an expert traffic controller, perfectly mapping algorithms onto the chip's layout to avoid those communication jams. And for action, a hybrid system would run these ultra-short quantum circuits to get useful answers before the noise has a chance to corrupt the whole calculation. And the difference in philosophy here is, well, it's stark. The old brute force path requires a staggering, and I mean staggering 10,000, maybe more, noisy physical qubits just to create one stable logical qubit. The triadic approach, on the other hand, is all about architectural intelligence. It's about achieving superior protection with just a handful of physical qubits. I mean, if this works, it could accelerate the timeline by years, maybe even decades. Okay, so we've got a new diagnosis, we've got a new prescription, but how do you measure success? How do you know if it's working? This brings us to the final piece of the framework, a really clear, measurable challenge for the entire field. To measure this balance, U-theory proposes a brand new metric, the stability index, or SIQ for short. And this isn't about qubit count or speed, it's a single number that scores the balance between form, position, and action. A low score means you have an imbalanced, leaky, wasteful system. A high score means you got a healthy, efficient one. And this is the gut punch. The theory's estimate for the stability index of today's most powerful but unbalanced quantum computers, it's a devastatingly low 0.11. Just think about that. This suggests that, despite having hundreds of qubits, these incredible machines are operating so inefficiently that their true stable potential is barely above zero. So if where we are now is 0.11, what does good even look like? What score do we actually need to hit to finally escape that death zone of noise and achieve real quantum utility? The proposed target is, well, it's a number that's famous in nature, in art, in mathematics, for representing perfect balance and stability. It's the golden ratio, about 0.618. Reaching a stability index above this number would be the signal, the proof that a quantum computer is officially triadically stable. And this all crystallizes into a formal challenge laid right at the industry's feet. It's not some far-off dream about 1 million qubits. No, it's a concrete goal for the machines we have today. Be the first to build a processor of a meaningful size, let's say over 40 qubits, that proves its health and its balance by scoring higher than that 0.618 mark. And this isn't just some theoretical exercise either. The challenge is aimed directly at the major players, the ones pushing the boundaries of this technology. IBM, Quantinuum, Google, IonQ. The question is, who among them is going to be the first to shift their strategy away from pure brute force and towards this idea of balance? You know, in the end, the entire argument really boils down to this powerful idea. Quantum mechanics isn't hostile, it's not the enemy. The fragility we're seeing in these machines is just a symptom of an incomplete design. The idea is, if you pay the price for stability, and you pay the price for connectivity, and you pay the price for computation, the system holds, it works. But if you ignore any one of them, the whole thing shatters. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future of computing, doesn't it? The race might not be for the most qubits after all, but for the most balanced system. So, who's it going to be? Who will be the first to pay all three prices, to finally conquer the Sisyphus error, and lead us all out of the quantum death zone?